All right. I'm back from my hiatus. Technically still on vacation. I've missed you guys, the community, the interaction, so I greatly appreciate you. And I'm honored to be at almost 400 subscribers. I know that number varies a few day to day, but it looks like I'm almost there, so it's very exciting. Today I'm coming at you with a tag. It's called the Literary Adventures tag. I was tagged by Alan. I also remember an open tag from Bookish. The original tag is by Karen Evans. I will link all that information down below. Also, I'm going to offer an open tag. Anybody that's listening, feel free to do this tag and tell whatever literary stories that you have. But I want to tag a few specific people as well, because I bet they've got some good literary stories to tell. First up, I want to tag Very Literary Carrie, who has been kind enough to tag me in her original JFK tag lately. I want to tag Hey Y'all Listen Up. He and I read a lot of the same books. I want to tag Lisa of Troy, who I would love to hear some more stories from. Joanna, who always has something insightful to say. Margaret Pinard, who I know has been on the road in her own videos lately. And the Grim Reader, an international person who I'm sure could tell us a lot of fun stories. But everyone's welcome to do the tag. Consider yourself tagged no matter what. I could tell a lot of stories. I actually have traveled so much in my life that I've gotten tired of traveling. I used to love to travel. I've been to Australia. I've been all over America with Canada and Mexico. I've been to Honduras and the Cayman Islands and at least 11 countries in Europe last time that I counted. Been to so many cities, so many locations. I'm just a bit traveled out. But today's story actually is not an international one. I'm not going to tell you exciting stories from places I've been to in Ireland and England and all of that. Instead, I'm going to tell you about the South in the United States, mainly New Orleans, one of my favorite places in the world. New Orleans is really a magical city. The food, the people, the culture, it's just a wonderful place to travel to and visit. I lucked out that in my life, I ended up with a really amazing best friend who stuck with me over the years, and she has a grandmother, Nan, who was the estate manager for Anne Rice, the famous novelist who wrote Interview with a Vampire, Queen of the Damned, all those exciting vampire and witch supernatural books, as well as a ton of romance books. Well, I lucked out, and we used to travel to New Orleans for the summer. I got to go stay at an estate that Anne Rice used to own in New Orleans. I believe it was called St. Elizabeth's, a former orphanage which was considered haunted. Anne Rice, when they made the film Interview with a Vampire, was paid millions of dollars. She was able to afford to buy this place that she wanted in New Orleans. However, she didn't actually live there. There was some issue with her family, her husband and her son not wanting to live there, so they actually lived at a different place in New Orleans. But it was an exciting location. It was set up with guest rooms, the office of the estate manager for Nan. Nan actually lived in one of the towers. The towers were 4 stories tall. It was fun to go down there in the summer and visit. I was lucky enough that I got to meet Anne Rice. I got to meet Anne Rice's husband, Stan, before he passed away. Stan Rice is a famous poet and painter, and Anne and Stan's son, Christopher, is now a famous writer. I actually got to read what I believe was his first novel when it was an ARC. Nan had an advanced reading copy of it, and that was exciting, you know, just as an experience as a younger person who knew I wanted to be a writer in the future. We had a lot of fun adventures there in New Orleans. I guess I should preface it by saying, when I first got there the first time, they gave me a tour and explained how Anne Rice had hired someone to come in to detect evil spirits and do exorcisms and that sort of things. They were trying to assure me that even though it had a reputation as a haunted location, that it was perfectly fine and safe to sleep there overnight, that I shouldn't be scared. One of the summers that we went down there, Nan told us she had a surprise for us, that we were going to Mississippi and that we were going to get to see a presidential library. And I love presidential libraries. Here in Texas, you can go Well, first of all, I live in the Dallas-Fort Worth area where the George W. Bush Presidential Library is at SMU. But you can go down to Austin where at UT they have the LBJ Presidential Library. You can go to Commerce. At Texas A&M, they have the Presidential Library for George Bush Sr. The first time that I went there, they actually had a CIA former agent who was speaking and telling really interesting stories. I don't know if they still do that with guest speakers there, but it was fascinating. The presidential libraries, I think, are really interesting. There's also a JFK exhibit in Dallas, of course, where JFK was assassinated. A lot of great presidential stuff here in Texas. But back then, I wasn't really questioning going to Mississippi to a presidential library. What I was hearing was one of Anne Rice's former security guards was now working security at a presidential library in Mississippi, and we were going to get to go spend the night in the security guard house that they have on location there, and we'd get to see the presidential libraries. I was excited about that. It was only once we were on the road that my brain really got to thinking, we've never had a U.S. president from Mississippi. So I started asking questions like, oh, was there some president who just got a financial deal to put his library in Mississippi for some reason? And that was when it finally clicked that it wasn't really a U.S. presidential library. It was the Presidential Library of Jefferson Davis, the president of the Confederacy. And I kind of freaked out at that moment because at that point in time, there was a lot of racial tension in Mississippi, as there has been for a long time. And specifically on the news, there were places getting burned down, there were people being attacked, there was some serious stuff happening that month while we were traveling to get there. Oh, but it was interesting. The little guardhouse that we stayed in had some old artifacts from Anne Rice as well, some interesting things to see. There was a big statue of a crocodile that was right outside the front window. I slept on the couch where I could just glance and see the crocodile statue. It was crazy. It was a very interesting location though, very beautiful with the lands and the gardening and how they had set it up. I did not purposely visit the Jefferson Davis Presidential Library. It was just one of those crazy things that happened in my life. There was another time that Nan told us that Anne Rice needed some stuff taken out to her Florida condo. We got to travel to Florida, and Anne Rice used to have all these great places. I believe she sold them off, one by one over the years and kind of consolidated down to owning less real estate. But she had a condo in Florida with the beach area, and we were there, I guess, in an off season. I don't know, but there was almost no one there. It was a beautiful view with the condo and everything. A lot of fun stuff happened over the years just from knowing Nan and going on these adventures. There was once that Nan somehow managed to borrow Anne Rice's limo. I remember first going out to dinner one night. We were actually in Anne Rice's limo, which was pretty cool. Those are my literary adventure stories for today. Perhaps I'll do this tag again at some point. It is a lot of fun. I highly recommend it. It's great to be back. You guys are awesome. I greatly appreciate you. Every day is a good day for a book talk. Peace.